Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and it's the final episode before free agency, which means we're giving you a free agency preview. We're going to go through the key positions where we think guys are going to, money's going to be spent, and maybe, talk about the other ones. But the big news, Justin, is that Casey Kreider and Tommy DeVito are back, baby. How are you doing?
Thank God the season can start. The season can begin.
I will be sad whenever, I saw somebody tweet this, and it was a good tweet. It's like, the Packers have Favre to Rodgers, the 49ers had Montana to Young, the Giants have Deosity to Kreider. Like, Kreider has been a great long snapper. He's the second longest tenured player on the roster if Darius Slayton is not brought back, only to Dexter Lawrence, and he's legitimately been a great long snapper. So I'm very glad that Casey Kreider's back.
Tommy DeVito's legitimately been a good backup quarterback.
No, he hasn't been a good backup quarterback. He's been a good third-string quarterback.
Yes, and that's part of me where I will now become sad whenever Tommy DeVito leaves. So he can never leave now.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito's a split figure, where it's like I don't care if he's just the third-string quarterback. I hate him. And then, then there's like, I love this guy. And then there's like, hey, he's the third-string quarterback. That's not going to have a ton of takes. Although Tim Boyle, if we get Aaron Rodgers, has to be back.
Oh.
All right, Justin, we're going to get into this episode. Before we get into this episode, it's brought to you by some special people. We got JD.
JD's nuts.
Or maybe it's the vice president.
Vance.
Yeah, the guy from the meme.
White and so wide.
Been a lot of different pictures of him. I feel like that's just kind of like a vice president thing. It's like you get made memes out of, right? Like Joe Biden, it was like the, Obama can't, like he says all the crazy shit to Obama, and Obama like rolls his eyes at it. Mike Pence didn't really have any. Dick Cheney, memes weren't around for. And
Dick Cheney shot somebody.
Yeah, he was on Family Guy for that.
Yeah.
That is kind of crazy. That's one of the best. That's one of the more funny Family Guy things where it's like he just shoots someone at point blank. He's like, I thought you were a deer. We got Alfie Greco. Remember John Greco? That's actually his son. And then we got Johnny A. Johnny A is on the beat. Johnny A. Justin, who are these special people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkofgiants for $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner sending some stickers in the mail. Plus, there's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/talkofgiants. You'll be glad you did. Bobby, should I say the line? No. The next time that you listen to us, the New York Football Giants are going to become a better. No, I won't say it.
They will. They will,
though. I'm excited, and here's how we'll kick it off. I'm kind of excited for this episode, and hey, if you know us at Talking Giants, the early days, we would be like, we're gonna try and watch everybody, and we're gonna try and predict. No, we're gonna give you some names, and there, Jordan Ronan came on here, gave us some names that hey, we could talk about it, expand upon further, and there's been some names rumblings. We know the positions that the Giants kind of want to target. I kind of like this free agency for the Giants. I'm not going to lie, because cornerback and interior offensive line, those seem like those are the two positions that they're going to attack the most. I think philosophically that's a good approach in the NFL to attack those two positions in free agency, cornerback and interior offensive line. But I'm excited for this episode because, oh my God, I feel like it's been just nonstop talking about quarterback, where there's plenty of other positions on a football team that the Giants need to fill out and address. And this is one of the first times that we could talk about it and people won't tune out.
Yeah, and we'll get rid of the speculation with quarterback, but it obviously does start with quarterback, Justin. We've done a good bit of this on mailbags and stuff, but I feel like there's 7 quarterbacks that one of them has to be on the New York Giants, this time next week. And I have 2 categories. There's one, guys who are capable of starting for a year, and then the only with a first-round quarterback. My can't start for years are Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold. And then only with the first-round quarterback is Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. And if Kirk Cousins hits free agency, which I'm not sure is going to happen, he would be on the only with the first-round quarterback. But my preference is Aaron Rodgers. I really have no idea what he's going to command in the open market. But what I do know is I just don't think there's going to be a wide market for Aaron Rodgers. I went through the teams, and there's only 5 teams that I can really see like having him as a possibility. They are the Titans, the Raiders, the 49ers, the Steelers, and then the Giants. The 49ers and Steelers, I don't see, there's no smoke at those, but I just like throw those out there. And I just think it's between the Giants and Raiders, just like it was with Matthew Stafford. So again, what does the market look like for him? Like, he's not going to go through some top dollar amount, but reality is that the main thing is it should be a 1-year commitment for Aaron Rodgers. Like, you can't give him too much security to feel too comfortable, and feel like he has control of the franchise or whatever. He had 3,800 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I think he's the best available quarterback out there. He shouldn't, demand a long-term commitment, and if he does, then I don't really want him.
So what do you consider long-term? 3 years?
I think even 2 years.
So
like,
what if the second year is fake and they can
that's what I mean. That's why I said commitment, not contract.
Got
it
okay.
needs, no more than a 1-year commitment to him. So yeah, I would. Aaron Rodgers is the one I think is the best for helping a drafted quarterback, and I think he's just the best quarterback on the roster. Obviously, it's not perfect. There's going to be baggage that comes with it. But again, 1-year commitment. I want Aaron Rodgers on the Giants.
Yeah, again, repeating some talking points, and this is even a Joe Schoen talking point about we want to add a quarterback that's going to help us out the most in 2025. That's why they were so aggressive with Matthew Stafford. What I really can't say, though, the more that we've gotten away from Stafford, the closer that we're getting to free agency. Like, they were so aggressive with Matthew Stafford, with the Rams, and then also with Stafford himself, trying to give him money to sweeten that offer that Stafford would want to come here. They were so aggressive with Matthew Stafford. I can't imagine that pivot is, Jacoby Brissett and Justin Fields is like the veteran answer. No, like, Aaron Rodgers does make sense, and something that the Giants now have the advantage of when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, and something that they didn't have with Matthew Stafford, is that I can imagine that Matthew Stafford didn't want to pick up the family, move across the country. Well, Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to pick up and move across the country. If anything, he doesn't even need to move at all. And I'm sure if that factors into his decision, then that's a plus for the Giants, and that's a bonus for the Giants. I do think, Bobby.
Why are you making fun of him for having no family, Justin?
Yeah, I didn't notice how I didn't say his family. But like I do think like there's a chance that dollar amount it may be like a whoa. It may be like a wowza. At first, because I talked about it on a previous episode. Geno Smith, out of like starting caliber quarterbacks that have contracts, right? Not quarterbacks on their rookie deals and stuff like that. He gets $25 million APY, and that's like it's him, and then it's like the highest paid backups in the NFL. So I think I think his floor is almost around $25 million, Bobby.
Yeah, that's if you ask me to predict a number, which again I've gotten out of the trying to predict free agent contracts that aren't like towards the bottom or the top, because of how much the cap goes up every year and shit. The number I would come up with would be 25.
Yeah.
So in all likelihood, that'd probably be like 18 million on the cap this year, and they put $7 million worth of voids or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Justin Fields would make sense if he's the guy that you look to identify as someone who you can get better and turn into a good quarterback, right? He hasn't done anything to get that big contract, even though his number I think might be a little surprising. Last year he was traded for a 6th rounder and then got benched, so his stock shouldn't be up. But he has all the arm talent and athleticism to get him drafted 11th overall. He's 9-5 in his last 14 starts/full games with 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, while also rushing for 50 yards per game and 8 rushing touchdowns in that time. So like you can do something like he's extremely talented. And he doesn't turn the ball over with interceptions. So, he's obviously not going to give you a lot of passing yards, only 196 yards per game, which is like, almost dead last in that time. He takes a ton of sacks. But the issue with Justin Fields is I like that idea. He may get a Sam Darnold tax, though, being the quarterback who wasn't very good but talented. But like we're going to bet on him because there's really no other competition for him like for that role of like the young talented quarterback who hasn't been good but maybe could be, but you're not putting expectations on. The only other one would be Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Well, yeah, bring him back. It's kind of crazy. Like we did our football today, our draft, our free agency draft, which I thought it was a pretty good episode. If you want to go check that out over on the JM Football channel, did it with Chris Rose and Dalton Feely. And you batted off like 1-1. Like you drafted Daniel Jones right away. And you're like, I think he's going to the Colts. And I think you may be right. You almost forget, like as Giants fans, you almost forget like Daniel Jones is going to be a free agent. He's going to hit the open market, and there is going to be a team that probably like wants him and views him as like valuable for his price tag and shit like that. So it's kind of nuts. We kind of like, at least for me, I kind of totally put him out of my brain. But
Yeah, he was me too until we did that art. But it's my old at like there is nothing a quarterback can do for their image that is better than just not playing.
oh, and he didn't play basically the last quarter / second half of the year. And
So if he doesn't play next year and he's like just a bat, like his stock. You remember Mitchell Trubisky? Like he's a minimum contract.
That was crazy.
He threw 4 passes for the Bills. One was this ugly, like this terrible interception. And it's like, yep, he's the starter for the Steelers. He's making $12 million.
Yeah, that was nuts.
It's
just
unbelievable.
Just didn't play.
I'm telling you, it's better than like Sam Darnold. Obviously, Sam Darnold's going to get a bigger contract and shit. But like Sam Darnold has a negative view of him right now because of the way his season ended. The best thing he could do is just not play. But I think he's going to the Steelers, so that's why I haven't really talked much about Fields. The other one that I would be okay with is Russell Wilson. He's the safest bet. He's a 1-year deal. He's not going to cause any commotion. I think the one thing he has going for him compared to an Aaron Rodgers, Justin, that has been talked about is that if you do draft a quarterback, a benching of Russell Wilson compared to Aaron Rodgers is way quieter, right? It's nowhere near the issue. Like Rodgers, that can become an issue. Russ, even if he's happy, he's not going to say anything. Hell, the way Denver treated him, he barely said anything. He's going to be a good teammate in the film room. It's just I think he's a good bit worse than Rodgers. The quick game in middle of the field gets kind of eliminated. He's going to take a lot of sacks. He's taken over 3 sacks per game over the last 3 seasons. Like, it's just not a good. I just don't think he's the best mix. But my rankings of like the quarterbacks I'd want would go Rodgers, Fields, Wilson. Obviously, considering the contracts that they'll probably all.
I think it's Rodgers, and it's a wide gap. And then it's everybody else. Like I really think because of how desperate they were to get Stafford, if they are going to pivot and now just, all right, well, the veteran guy that we've been hyping up is going to be Russell Wilson, Jameis or Fields. I think that is like that's an extreme head scratcher. I've almost talked myself into. I think I've talked myself into Rodgers. And kind of wanting it, because why not? Because hey, if you're gonna make a big swing and you're gonna believe in it, say it with your chest and let's just go.
Yeah, to me, it's again Rodgers, Fields, Russ, and I like the first 2 options a lot more than I do the third option.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. If it's Russ, I'm rooting for. All right, please, Cam Ward, like trade up to 1. Hopefully that package doesn't shoot us in the back. And then Cam Ward maybe wins that job within the first 3 weeks of the season. I do not want to watch Russell Wilson be the quarterback of this football team for very long.
Yeah. Sam Darnold should be an absolutely no. Like, that's a unbelievable. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, all right, John Mayer, you may actually should revisit your decision before this contract happens. And then, again, the guys only with the first round quarterback, Brissett, Winston, Mariota, which I don't really want any of those guys on my team. But if you're telling me we're not going to pay, they're telling me they're drafting a quarterback in the first round and they're not trying to pay $20 million, then those guys are doable with that. So, do you got anything else from the quarterback list before you hit the cornerback list?
No, let's go to cornerback.
All right, so I think there's like 6 names of guys, and it's really, I think it's 5. You have DJ Reed, and this is their age when the season starts. DJ Reed, 28 years old. Charvarius Ward, 29 years old. Byron Murphy, 27 years old. Paulson Adebo, 26 years old. Carlton Davis, 28. And then Rasul Douglas, 31. I don't think Rasul's an option. Justin, you think DJ Reed's probably the top of the market player here, right? And this is a position we kind of know the Giants are going to attack aggressively.
Yes, I love DJ Reed. I know people are afraid of the height. His arms are over 31 inches, which that's the threshold that you want to check in the NFL. Your arms being over 30 inches. I mean, his metrics are just too good. And obviously, hey, we'll watch the film, bro, once he's signed, and then we'll see how he fits in Shane Bowen's scheme. But out of corners that took 300 coverage snaps in 2024, he was number one in average separation. He was number six in tight window rate. He was number seven in forced incompletion rate. He was number 18 in completion rate allowed. I saw a lot of that Minnesota Vikings game this year, and he played Justin Jefferson really well. He played Justin Jefferson really physically. He had two pass interference penalties, but I think maybe they were a little tic tacky. Hey, you got to be sticky, and if you're playing Justin Jefferson, you got to be aggressive. So I don't think the label on him as being a CB2 in the Jets system isn't necessarily fair, since Sauce Gardner doesn't have the reputation of following people. I think it's, hey, in the Jet system, you line up or you line up. So, I mean, DJ Reed has number one corner metrics. And, I mean, let's also be real. The expectation of him coming to the Giants would be to be a cornerback one, but let's not act like Deonte Banks possibly can't get better. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility. So even if DJ Reed isn't this shutdown alpha corner, if he's good, I will. And if he's like, hey, just like James Bradbury was a couple years back, if he's good, then I'm totally for that. I'm totally happy.
Yeah, again, I think he's probably top of our market player. He gives up about 400 yards per season, which is pretty damn good. He's got good ball skills. Now, 19 penalties over the last 2 years. That's big plays that he gives
touchy.
up. So he's not this perfect. You don't really have this perfect player, but that's kind of what free agency is. It'll be interesting to see what the cornerback market is, though, Justin, because there's guys out there. You have Paulson Adebo, who I think Paulson Adebo's the best corner, but he's coming off of a broken leg. He's the youngest. He wasn't fully asked to be the cornerback one in New Orleans either, and he does give up a decent amount of yards, but he has great, he is a will turn over the ball player for you. It's not just, he had a year with interceptions here. No, he turns over the football. And he had 7 interceptions and 18 pass breakups in his last 22 games. Was 8th in forced incompletion rate last year, 1st in 2023. He's the youngest. He's long, athletic. He is the guy I want, but I can't pound the table for him because he's coming off of a broken leg, and I don't know what he's going to look like. He may completely fall off. But I do think he is the best of the cornerback group, but I don't know how much I trust someone coming off a broken leg. And then again, we haven't, watched the film, bro, on any of these guys yet. It's just kind of, watching them casually and then numbers and stuff. Byron Murphy,
that's maybe the next guy for me. It's only you mentioned that you have 5-6 names. I think the Giants are going to aggressively pursue. I don't know who they have number one, but I would envision DJ Reed and Byron Murphy. Those are their top 2 targets, and if all goes right, then one of those 2 guys is a Giant.
Yeah, Byron Murphy's the one where he plays in a system that is friendly to corners and Brian Flores. But he's given up over 700 yards the last 2 years.
Targeted a lot.
Yeah, high completion. And
it's not a bad thing though.
Gives up a decent completion rate. But he's also he's got good ball skills as well. Not as good as the other guy, but he has 9 interceptions and 11 pass breakups the last 2 years. But he also gives up a lot of touchdowns. He gave up 10 the last 2 years. He had a year where he gave up 10 a few years back. He has certainly not been a perfect player. But again, I think DJ Reed's the best. I also don't know if do we want to give out the number one contract to corner. That hasn't been the MO of Joe Schoen. But it's, to me, I think it's going to be one of those 3 guys. Charvarius Ward turning 29, didn't have a great year last year. I don't think that's happening. I don't think Carlton Davis is coming to the Giants.
Rasul Douglas, Bills connection.
Rasul Douglas would be a nice addition, but he's older. He's not going to be you can't pencil him in as your cornerback one.
Right.
That's a nice addition, right? If the Giants wanted to go the Commanders route of free agency like last year, where you get a bunch of guys, Rasul Douglas would be a good fit in that. But if they're trying to fill that cornerback one role, I don't think Rasul Douglas is the guy you want to bring in at this age.
I'd agree,
Justin. But if you do want to get a good deal on something, Justin, you got to go to SeatGeek.
Sure.
The MLB season, it's just around the freaking corner. Basketball and hockey seasons are heating up. I got to get out to some Orlando Magic games. And artists like Morgan Wallen, Kendrick Lamar, and The Weeknd are on tour. Whew. I might have to see all three of them. And with our partners at SeatGeek, you can now get 10% off any tickets with code GIANTS 2025. Giants plural 2025. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. That's a lot of downloads, Justin. And they truly are the best ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to baseball games, NBA, NHL, not to mention tons of concerts and other events. I might be going to some MLB games because the Rays are playing in the George Steinbrenner
That's right. Yeah.
field this year. So it's like I feel like I'd be wrong to not go like check that out to say that I went the year they played in the minor
Now,
league stadium.
those tickets are going to be a little expensive, though, because you got to think of, the demand and shit like that.
Well, you're thinking of Rays versus Yankees. I don't have to go to a Rays versus Yankees
I guess
game.
you're right. You don't have to. But even some of the Rays tickets, I'm sure they may surprise you because that's a single A ballpark. You know what I mean? It's probably a big single A ballpark, but
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, they just don't fill seats in Tampa.
yeah, you're right. You are right.
I might check SeatGeek right freaking now to do that. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if you're getting a good deal. Just look for the green dots, right?
And good thing is SeatGeek's going to let you know if you're getting a good deal on that or not.
Yeah, green means good, red means bad, and they go to Rays games. Okay, so let me get past. I'm gonna look up a price, and this is including fees.
So prove me wrong.
Let's see. You're kind of. I mean, Pirates at Rays, $26.
Awesome.
That's with fees.
I'm wrong.
Rays at Rangers, $9.
Very wrong, man.
It's a 4 fucking Ranger. All right, get SeatGeek. It's the best. It really is. And we can come through for you guys. You can use code Giants 2025 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Giants 2025. Be glad you did. All right, Justin. Now let's talk about the interior of the offensive line. This has been like a position that we feel like we add every year in free agency. You brought in Mark Lewinsky in a modest deal in 2022 when they had no cap space with Feliciano on a cheap deal. Then they took a year off of it in 2023, and then last year added John Runyon to a 3-year, $30 million in the guard boom. Last year was the beginning of big guard contracts. Now, this is one where when people say, "Oh, they're going to be big spenders at the guard spot," what is the player that is matching that, Justin? Because the only one that Will Freeze from the Colts, like he's been a name that's been linked, but he broke his leg in week 5. He's 26 years old. A young up and coming player, but he doesn't have like a ton of like, oh, look at all these great years, right? Like he's an up and coming player at this point. And then outside of that, Trey Smith's off the market. I don't think Brandon Sheriff or Kevin Zeitler are coming here. Like, where is like the guard options that are going to get big deal contracts, which I'm not necessarily looking for, but where are those guys?
I think Tevin Jenkins could get close to $15 million a year.
Really? Because I like Tevin Jenkins, and he's number 1 on my want list from the guard spot, right? Like he's someone I loved him coming out of Oklahoma State, and he's been a good guard for the Bears. He's missed games in all 4 years. He came into the NFL with a back injury and then switched to guard. And there was some weird stuff going on with him in between the Bears where you thought maybe he wasn't ever going to play. But he missed 3 games last year, 5 the year before. But it's $15 million for you may be right, man. Like, if you're not, I wasn't looking at him as this huge swing, but he is he's the guard that I do want on my team in Tevin Jenkins. He helps the run game, man, and I think that's missing from the interior of the Giants' offensive line right now. And he's been a solid pass blocker, too.
And without, not considering your veterans like your Kevin Zeitler, your Brandon Sheriffs.
Yeah, I just don't think those guys are coming here.
Right, but Mekhi Becton is probably getting over $10 million a year, which, hey,
I don't want Mekhi Becton either.
Leaves the Philadelphia Eagles, and and that coaching and that structure, what kind of player are you going to get there? Patrick McCarry is the name that Jordan Ronan floated on our show. If you watched Ravens Chiefs on national television, you saw McCarry not do very well at right tackle against the Chiefs week 1, and then that got me very worried about the Chiefs offensive line, but then they flipped him to, I believe it was left guard, and he kind of settled down. I think Macari may be a little bit better of a pass blocker than run blocker. Only allowed, I think, 1 sack this year, and this is like his first year as a full-time starter. But in like half the snaps the year before, he allowed 5 sacks. So, and we all know that Ravens offensive line is a good run blocking unit. So Macari may have some of that in his bag. So Macari being like 27, 28. Now here's the worry, Bobby, is that you did mention Trey Smith is off the market. They franchise tagged him, and I think that kind of sucks because I think that's going to raise the price of all these other guys. Like there's nobody. I think Tevin Jenkins and Will Freeze may be guys that get close to around, maybe even a little north of 15 million a year. But I think Mekhi Becton, Patrick Macari, Aaron Banks, Will Hernandez, Dalton Risner, some of these other guys that the Giants may be looking into, like I think their prices are inevitably going to be bumped up because the guard market isn't maybe as rich as what it was last year, where guys were getting like 20 million a year, and a lot of guards got extensions last year too to stay with their teams.
Or maybe it deflates. Like the Bears getting out of the market for a guard helps. Like that makes a big difference because everyone knew the Bears were going to be big spenders at guard, and then they went and did 2 trades to take care of that. So now you've got a big spender at guard off the market, right? The way that guards got money last year, maybe less teams are like going into this free agency seeing them there. So yeah, it's free agent numbers are so hard to predict now with the way cap goes up, and you have these random position booms and then random position dropouts. So I'm not going to sit here and say it, but Aaron Banks is somebody who's been a decent run blocker, struggled in pass pro for a while for San Fran. He may be a guy on the cheaper deal that maybe even you bring him in. Even though I think he'll get a starter. And I think you can look at a stopgap like Laken Tomlinson as well too. Like just because even if you sign somebody else, like try and build depth. Or if you bring in Laken Tomlinson, he's your 5th starter. You draft a guard in the 3rd round, you don't need to play him right away. So the only name I don't want is Mekhi Becton because I think he's going to get a big contract, and I don't want him on this team with a big contract. Also, James Daniels, 27 years old. He's coming off an Achilles tear, though. He's probably one of the 3 best guards on the. Actually, no, Kevin Zeitler's probably the best, and then you have Sheriff. I think is still pretty decent, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my prediction would be Will Freeze ends up on the New York Giants. We seem to like to take the Colts players in free agency
and then make them worse.
Bobby Okereke was better on the Giants his first year than he was with the Colts.
Yeah, that was with Wink.
And just need 1 year. Just need 1 year. And then other on the offensive line, and this is I'm like the teacher who comes in the room saying hello every single day.
Take swing.
That's me
seriously.
with the swing offensive tackle issue. Now, Bobby, put your money where your mouth is. Give us a swing offensive tackle. It's hard. It's hard to find a tackle when you're not projecting him to start. But I did it. I'm going to give you 2 names. Oli Udoh, who's with the Vikings for a long time. He was with the Saints last year, didn't really play. Also, Josh Jones. Remember the tackle out of Houston in Thomas's draft class? 2nd round pick from the Cardinals. He sat on the bench for the Ravens last year. Josh Jones, he's got some talent in there. And if you really, really want to take it serious, go after Jedrick Wills. Make him your swing tackle. How about that?
There's going to be an NFL team that will start him.
But what if you really take it serious?
What if you really take it serious?
What if you lie to him?
Right.
What if you lie to Jedrick Wills?
That would be mean.
Sometimes you got to be mean in business, man. That would
be mean.
You got to be mean in business. So, Oli Udoh, Josh Jones, Jedrick Wills from the swing. It's hard to find swing tackles. And then, Justin, the next position I want to talk about is wide receiver.
Oh, okay.
Receiver is the position that I'm hashtag noticing this offseason.
Sure.
Because it's such a weird spot for the Giants and for guessing free agent deals. And you see Tutu Atwell get 1 year, 10 mil. See how much that's real. Yeah. What? The Giants are in a weird spot where they have an alpha, finally. And then you have a slot only who is 5'8" and is up for an extension. And Nothing else.
Nice.
How do you address it? We put out a poll on the last podcast, Justin. The results are back.
Yeah, let me know. What is that?
31% believe the Giants' second outside wide receiver. Can I say something too, by the way? Yes, I can say whatever I want. It's a fucking podcast, Bobby. You own it. Wide receiver 2 means outside wide receiver number 2.
Yes.
Slot drives me nuts when it's like I'm talking about wide receiver 2 and it's like, well, Wandale or this. No, slot receivers. You are a slot. You don't get the title of.
Put your brain on. Don't try and be fucking smarter than everybody else.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I don't call him a wide receiver 1. He's a slot receiver.
Yes.
Anyways, it's just wide receiver 2 means second outside wide receiver. Anytime you hear me say that, even if we have the best slot wide receiver in the NFL, I'm talking about that second outside wide receiver.
31%.
31% believe a 2025 draft pick. How about that?
Okay.
Now, that got the biggest thing, but the most picked is a free agent. Exactly 27.2% for a free agent cheaper than Darius Slayton, and then an older receiver, which could mean Devontae Adams, Brandon Cooks, or whoever, regardless of what their contract is, maybe someone who looks better, and then 14% for Jalen Hyatt. So I was actually surprised at some of that. So again, we've done this topic a ton because we talk about Darius Slayton. He's the Giants' best pending free agent. We did a little bit on the last mailbag. Is what do the Giants do for wide receiver 2? Like, it's hard to predict. Now, we could sit here and say Devontae Adams, 32 years old with Aaron Rodgers. Sure, but let's just pretend Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign with the Giants. Then Devontae Adams is not coming to the Giants if that happens. Like, my best guess would be, like, either Brandon Cooks, come as a cheap wide receiver 2 stopgap, or, like, Joshua Palmer from the Chargers. Like, there's really not an answer out there that makes you feel good.
No. I kind of want to vomit.
Which is why I don't want to create this hole. I don't want to feel like they need to have the need of like, we got to fill this in the draft, even though they can still draft a wide receiver if it's, good player there. But I just kind of don't want to create this hole when the Giants don't have any other pending free agents to really sign.
Which is why the more that you think of it, the more that Rodgers and Adams just make sense.
Yeah. Well, I was referring to Darius Slayton.
Well. Now he's gone, man. I think he's, I didn't listen to the full talking ball interview with Pat Leonard, but just based on the kind of the clips that came out, and I think him agreeing to do that interview to begin with, I think for himself, he's out. Like, goodbye. And I think he should, like, for himself. Now for the team, I would love to have him back.
I don't care about Darius Slayton's self-interest. I care about the Giants' interest.
No, you're right, but I'm just I think I'm just trying to be real about it. Like, I think
he's gone too.
Gone. Yeah.
But again,
go play with Justin Herbert and look a lot better.
Let's since we're bringing it up right now, Giants all-time receiving stats.
Oh, I talked about this on his PPP. Do you remember this?
I do remember. He moved up. He is 18th in yards. Above Mark Bavaro, Plaxico Burress.
Yeah.
Ernest Gray.
Is he above Shep? No.
No, he's behind Shep by 198 yards.
Yeah, all right. So if he was going to pass Shep this year. I remember saying that in the PPP.
Yeah, he was supposed to pass Shep, and then now for receptions, he's also 17th, 3 behind Evan Ingram. 7 behind Mark Bavaro, behind Saquon, behind Kyle Rote. Oh, Kyle Rote he was all right. 48 touchdown catches. Where is he in touchdown catches?
Probably not that high.
No. It's been like at 22nd. Hey, he's tied with the touchdown maker, Stephen Baker.
Look at that.
So, Giants legend. I will miss Slayton unless they fill the wide receiver 2 role. Then I'll not think about him that much.
Yeah, I'll get excited about Devontae Adams.
But let's talk about it. Like I have the names are, you have the older guys of Diggs, who I thought was going to return to the Texans until they traded for Christian Kirk.
Yeah, as we're recording this. 7th round pick, 6th round pick.
Well, they were going to cut him, so they were going to cut him.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. Maybe Amari Cooper is an option. Chris Godwin's going back to the Bucks. Brandon Cooks. And then the cheaper guys than Slayton are just, there's maybe Hollywood Brown is cheaper. Then you have like DeMarcus Robinson, Nick Westbrook-Akine, De'Ami Brown, Joshua Palmer. Like, let me ask you, predict someone not named Devontae Adams that the Giants will sign at wide receiver.
DJ Chark and Jerry Slayton just switch places.
So DJ Chark?
Yes.
I'm going to say Nick Westbrook-Akine. I don't fucking know.
I also do like DeMarcus, like when I was watching Stafford. I do like DeMarcus Robinson as like a deep threat. He averaged like almost 16, 17 yards per reception last year, and you get a quarterback with an arm. It's like, all right, DeMarcus, if we want Neighbors to be Mr. Do-It-All, wide receiver 2 can be a go deep guy, even though that's supposed to be Jalen Hyatt, and then the slot Wandale can be the short guy. DeMarcus Robinson is a guy that can go deep and get it. I mean, it's kind of crazy that you look at the 20 air yard throws for Matthew Stafford last year. It was not Puka and Cooper Kupp. A lot of it was DeMarcus Robinson. And he is a free agent. So
he's a free agent.
31
Maybe
years old.
Matt Lombardo gets him back, gets him home. Defensive tackle spot. This is one where it's like, oh, the Giants got to address this, but again, not a great market. Say a name. I know who you're going to say.
You know who I'm going to say?
Yeah.
I have 4 here. I don't know.
Okay, say a name that intrigues you the most. Don't say Milton Williams either. That doesn't count.
No. He's getting $20 million a year. You're going to be shocked by this. Tershawn Wharton from the Kansas City Chiefs.
I actually knew you'd say, because you said him recently on maybe Football Today or something.
You want to know what it is? Because he dominated the Super Bowl, but then I looked at everything else. I'm like, oh, he's not that good. But he like fucking killed. He was like a man possessed during the Super Bowl. Like the only Chiefs player that showed up.
Yeah, I think that was a Super Bowl recap when you were talking about him.
Yeah.
You got BJ Hill. He's been a good player since he left.
Is that who you thought I was going to say?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say BJ Hill.
I don't know if that's realistic. I'll be real.
Yeah, I mean, I know we always like, oh, this former Giant, but he does make sense even if he never played for the New York Giants. He had a $10 million per year deal a few years ago. That was kind of the beginning of the boom on defensive tackle deals. Maybe they start to slow down a little bit. The other name I have that pops out at me a little bit is Jaron Reed from the Seahawks. They paid Leonard Williams. He'd be really good next to Dexter Lawrence. He's a 3 technique. He's 32 years old. Again, still draft and invest in that spot, but he is someone who you could come in and it's like that's a starting level player and an advantage to you most of the time.
I have DJ Jones from Denver written down as a name. Draymond Jones was just cut from Seattle. A guy that's kind of like mid pass rusher, good, decent pass rusher from interior, but you may have to pay a little extra just to get these interior guys in the building and on the team. But an under-the-radar guy that I do like, and I've liked him for a couple years now from the Raiders, I do like Adam Butler from the Raiders. And I don't know if he's a very good run defender, but I know he can get after the quarterback a little bit. And that's Adam Butler for the Raiders. He wears number 60-something, 69. He looks weird on the field, but he plays nice.
I was going to say, if he wears number 69, that's okay. If you wear any other number in the 60s, as a defensive lineman, it is very weird.
Let me check.
But
69. Yeah. He wore 70 for his career before Las Vegas.
Not great,
Crazy.
but still better than like 63 or 62
yeah,
or
69.
whatever.
That's where he's been the last 2 years.
62
5 sacks.
is like, wow.
5 sacks
Patrick
the last
Graham,
2 years.
Patrick Graham got the guy rolling.
Yep.
And then, so, again, we just touched on quarterback, corner, offensive line, wide receiver, defensive tackle. Justin, I mean, is there anything from like those core spots that you sticks out?
No, I don't love the interior D-line market this year.
No,
maybe it would be a little bit better. I do think they may. I think you got to bring somebody in, right? Is Nacho a free agent? No, he's on the team still, right? We didn't talk about him in the pending free agent episode, which I feel like that's somebody that we would talk about. We talk about everybody.
I think we did.
I don't think I don't remember mentioning Nacho's name.
Oh, I think we talked about them possibly cutting him. which they haven't.
Nunez Roches. No, they have not. He is under contract this year. He has a $5 million cap hit. They could save 3.6 million and eat 1.4. That seems like something that maybe they could do.
Yeah, like I feel like that might happen on when people are listening to this type of cut.
Yeah. So $5 million cap hit for Nacho is not something that I would want to be. It's not something I would love to have in the books. So I think getting another guy like Nacho in here, maybe there's an under the radar run defender that we're not seeing, because a lot of the guys that I identified, I think they're a little bit more pass rushers. But I also wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind getting another guy that gets in here and can rush the passer a little bit. Maybe you could draft a rookie in the draft in round 2 or 3, and that guy could be a little bit more of a run stopper, or even day 3 of the draft, like a Cam Jackson or Jamari Caldwell, 2 guys that I like from the Senior Bowl that can get in here and be run stoppers for you. But just getting some more, they need depth at this spot. This is definitely one I consider this one of the biggest positions of need for the Giants. I just don't fully know how they're going to address it because there's not these names on free agency.
Agreed. All right, so we're going to finish off by playing a game, Justin.
Okay.
And this name is, what minimum contract guy do you want at these positions, right? Stake your claim.
Yep.
Some of these guys I think have been on this game for years. So we have running back, tight end, linebacker, and safety. Who is your minimum contract running back that you want on the New York Giants, because they're not going to invest money in it?
There's a tradition on this show.
I have the same pick as you. You know that.
At any time that this guy is a free agent, I put him here because he is a Nebraska Cornhuskers. He was one of the most fun players to watch in college. It is Amir Abdullah. And also, I think he was actually kind of good for the Raiders last year, wasn't he?
I played him in fantasy one game when somebody got hurt, or one of my players went out on Monday Night Football, so I put in Amir Abdullah. Yeah, I have the same name for Amir Abdullah. I remember that one year I did the 5 free agent fits at each position, and I was like, I fucking nailed these video series. It was the second year of Joe Judge, and remember the year before they always had some type of connection to the free agents they signed.
Yes.
And then the next year they didn't get any injured guys, and the next year they just went the exact opposite. But Amir Abdullah was always on the running back list. All right, tight end. I'm going to go guy, Senior Bowl guy. John Bates was with the Commanders for a while, blocking tight end. Always got to have those blocking tight ends. But in reality, I just hope they re-sign Chris Manhertz to go with Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger. But hey, maybe John Bates is the tight end 4 that goes into camp. We do an episode on him and people talk about his blocking next, a week and a half from now. And we'll say probably gets cut, and people are like, man, you guys underrate this guy. And then we'll see what happens. But John Bates is my tight end.
Nice. I also agree where I hope Chris Manhertz returns. Now, this guy's not going to get a vet minimum, so I guess I'm breaking the rules of the game. But
you are definitely breaking the rules of the game.
Austin Hooper, like a backup tight end.
You're breaking the rules of the game.
I'm breaking the rules of the game.
Who do you got for safety?
Again, we're talking vet minimum guys.
Yeah, this is 4th guy on. This is 3rd wave of free agency, like Jalen Mills last year.
This is where
we're gonna break them down and talk about them, but they're not. They're the last at their position or getting cut type of players.
So this is me pushing back on you for 2 reasons. Number one, because I actually do disagree. I think Jordan hinted on this show that Jason Pinnock may not be coming back. So then there's a hole at safety. And are they going to draft
Javon
one high?
Holland?
Are they going to draft one? No, not Javon Holland. I don't have that written down. But are they going to draft one high enough that they're going to feel confident in starting? Or are we really in the Dane Belton era again? No, I don't think so. So I honestly think I have Justin Simmons and Jeremy Chin written down. And if there is an area, if there is a position where if the Giants want to replicate what the Commanders did, hey, and I think, did we talk about this in the mailbag, Bobby, where you're maybe if Joe Shane wants to take a note from another team and kind of bring in a veteran guy and a leader and maybe somebody that can, get another voice in a secondary, another voice on a defense that can lead. Yeah. I think those 2 guys, I don't think they're going to be that expensive. I think you could sign them for 2-year deals and they could start, and I think we could feel really good about it, and I think we would like those guys. Jeremy Chin and Justin Simmons. I'm breaking the rules where they are not vet minimum guys. You would bring them in the start, but I think safety is a position that the Giants may address and bring in a starter because Jason Pinnock may not be back, or Pinnock comes back and he's the starter, and then that's it.
Yeah, we'll see. It's would be it. I'm already like seeing in my head. It's like they don't bring back Pinnock. He signs for $2 million. We're like, that seems weird. Why didn't the Giants do that? And it's like, you guys are acting like this guy's the best safety in the NFL. I'm like, no, I just think that depth matters. They still need to fill that role, even if they, do. It'd be nice to
And
have
then
him as a
they're not going to
backup.
get any of these guys, and
Yeah.
then we're going to go into camp and we're going to be like, who the fuck is the safety? And yeah.
Dane Belton, bro, ball hawk. Richie Grant is mine. Started a couple years for the Falcons. Didn't play last year. UCF guy. He had like 2 interceptions at my first Senior Bowl. Really left a mark on me and my life. Richie Grant, UCF guy. Linebacker, Oren Burks. Honestly, there wasn't any great names here, so I just picked the guy who was like the backup for the Eagles and played in the Super Bowl. Oren Burks. Who's your linebacker?
Devin Bush. He's very light.
You're just trying to pull out the old Simple Man Radio clip about Devin Bush.
Maybe I am.
Do you know what I'm referencing?
Nope.
Remember the fan mock draft on Simple Man Radio when me and Zach did it? I was like, this guy Devin Bush reminds me. I did
Devin
John
Bush
Gruden.
Sr.?
He did Milk. No, I'll share. I don't even want to share the clip.
Okay.
I'll share it with you later, Justin.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'll share it on Patreon.
Fine.
All right, Justin, you have anything else?
Had this thought. Technically Aaron Rodgers isn't even released from the Jets yet.
Yeah, which is weird.
When is that going to happen?
Yeah,
we're talking about he's going to go elsewhere and he's going to come here and it'll be great.
Yeah, like why are the Jets doing that?
Why are they doing this to us? It's Thursday. When does
I had the exact same thought because I saw Art was on Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Something negotiating. I was like, wait, isn't he? He's still on the Jets. They haven't even released him.
technically can't. I mean, maybe I think maybe the Jets allowed him to negotiate, but like
Right, but I was just like, it reminded me, like, oh, he's still on the Jets.
So there you go. So when is everything going to happen? So here's the funny thing about the NFL and every year. The new league year kind of happens around the same time every year, and my birthday happens the same time every year. My birthday's on Tuesday. When does everything start to happen?
It's funny you say that because last year I had a tweet because it's like once it hits like 5 o'clock, it's like, what the hell are they doing?
Because isn't it Monday at noon that shit starts?
Yeah, Monday on noon is when it starts.
But nothing's official until Wednesday.
Yeah, but shit is official in
Yeah, it's
reality.
official.
Like,
It's official, but not official.
There's one every other year where it ends up not being official, but it's just official. Let's see.
Wouldn't that be funny if that happened to us this year? You do a whole film breakdown, not official. Turns out that guy's not a Giant.
Yeah, that would suck.
That would suck.
But I did a tweet where I said the times of it. But I guess that's gone. But anyways, Justin, we'll recap whatever they do. Right, we don't have a set schedule for next week. It's just kind of when stuff happens.
Fly by the seat of our pants.
We'll full film breakdowns on the YouTube channel. By the way, I wanted to promote at the beginning of the show. Check out the Shedeur Sanders film breakdown on the Bobby's Breakdown channel. Please do that. Put a lot of work into that. So hope it does well. We're trying to get that channel monetized, so check it out. All right, we'll see you whenever we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.